So you've clicked on this video because you wanted to know what seeds could you direct sow in May. Well, in this video, we're going to go through the 15 crops you need to direct sow this month. The first crop is carrots. You might have tried growing carrots in the past and you only got 1 or 2 seeds to germinate and you're thinking you don't have a green thumb. Then I'm going to share with you how you could get a good germination with a new way for planting carrots. Next, we have to cover them. When planting carrots, it's important to not cover them with too much soil because the seeds is very tiny. So the tip is you want to use a kitchen sifter to dust a fine layer of seeds over the soil, like an 1/8 to 1/4 inch of soil. Now next, I'm going to be placing a board over the carrot seeds. What the board does is it will keep the soil moist. That way, the seeds have a consistent moisture while they germinate. In a few days, you want to check up on your carrots, and within 6 to 14 days, you'll get a good germination. The second crop is parsnips. I'm going to be planting my parsnip right next to beside my carrots. Now, parsnip could take very long to germinate, 14 to 30 days at least. But if you plant them at the ideal temperature and plant them right now, they'll take shorter time to germinate. Now I have my trench made for planting my parsnips, and you want to plant each seed 1/2 inch to 1 inch away from each other. I finished planting my parsnips, and the third crop is tomatoes. In May, we could direct sow our tomatoes outside. I'm going to be planting my tomatoes in the cold frame that will keep my soil warm and then transplant it into the garden because my outside is still cold for zone 3. But for your tomatoes, you want to plant them outside, and the way for starting them is the same. I got a bowl for marking where I want to plant my tomatoes, so I'll make a spot in the soil with it. And next is I'm going to plant my tomatoes. I finished planting my tomato seeds, and when planting your tomatoes outside, you want to plant a few more seeds than you actually need because you might lose a plant. For example, a slug might come and eat it, and then you'd have no plants. That's why we plant extras. The fourth crop is beans. For a long time, we planted beans, but it felt like planting a total waste crop because they never really seemed to produce for us and our harvest wasn't great. So last year, we decided on planting some beans, but instead of just planting the normal bushing bean that we would plant, we planted some climbing beans as well. We wanted to see if we would get a better harvest from them. The beans grew very well throughout the season, and when harvest time came, our climbing beans went on to produce so many beans, more than our bush beans ever produced. In fact, there was just so much that we had to go out every day with huge big bowls just to pick the beans off the plant. So what are the secrets? Well, part of the reason was due to that we planted the climbing beans, but we also direct sow our beans. To direct sow your beans, you want to soak them in water for 6 hours. After the 6 hours, you want to drain the water, and you can direct sow them into the spot you want them to grow every 2 inches to 3 inches apart. The fifth crop is spinach. Spinach takes 45 days from seed to harvest, but if you're harvesting for baby spinach, you could harvest even sooner. But because we're planting spinach going into summer, and spinach hates the heat, we wouldn't get a good germination. But there's a trick that will fix this issue. Planting a spinach when the soil is around 15 to 30 degrees Celsius will help to increase your spinach germination rate. However, for the trick for planting a spinach, I'll let myself from 1.5 years ago explain that to you.
So the trick to help increase the germination rate when planting spinach is to pop your seeds in a refrigerated for a couple days in a damp piece of paper towel. This will simulate the seeds as if they've been through winter and will help increase the germination rate. So once your seeds been in the refrigerator for 4 to 5 days, you can take them out and they'll be ready to plant. In fact, I already have some that germinated. The sowing depth for spinach is around 1/4 to 1/2 an inch.
Well, that was pretty good. Now let's go get on to the next crop. The sixth crop is lettuce. Now what I decided to do is I'll plant my lettuce, and as I'm planting, I'll explain what I'm doing to you guys. I'm going to be pressing down the surface of my soil with a board first to try get it as flat as I can. That way, the seeds are on the same level. There you go. And now, I'm going to take some of my seeds and I'm going to sprinkle it over the surface of the soil. What I like using is my kitchen sifter, and I use it to sprinkle the soil over the seed. Because lettuce seeds, just like carrots, is a tiny seed. The seventh crop to plant this month is corn. Corn actually prefer warmer weather to germinate. The ideal temperature for planting corn is when the soil is around 30 degrees Celsius or 86 Fahrenheit. To plant your corn, you want to make sure that before you plant them, you first soak the seeds for 6 to 12 hours. Soaking the seeds will help to speed up the germination. After they're done soaking, you could plant your corn, and I like to plant my corn every 4 to 6 inches apart, and they usually come up for me in 4 to 7 days. For the eighth crop, I'm actually going to be reversing it because it is one that you wouldn't want to plant this month. And the seed that you shouldn't sow is peppers. Now, the reason you wouldn't really want to plant peppers is because they could take very long to grow. This right here was a pepper that was started in February, and as you can see, it's still not very big. So if you didn't start your pepper plants in January or February, then it would be better if you buy pepper transplants instead and plant those into your garden. We just did a crop that you shouldn't sow this month, but this next crop is one that you should absolutely sow for your garden. That crop is dill. Dill is so great because it will attract an army of ladybugs into your garden. Each ladybug that is in your garden could eat 5,000 aphids off your plants. Dill is also great for making pickles. So, to grow dill, because dill like flowering a lot in summer, we wouldn't get a good harvest if we just plant one batch. It's actually best if you plant 2 or multiple batches of dill. Then with your multiple batches of dill, you can let 1 or a few of your plants go to flower to attract ladybugs and beneficial pollinators. But you still have some dill plants that you save just for harvesting. I'm just going to be direct sowing my dill right in this corner here. The next crop to sow is cilantro, or if you let them flower, they could become coriander. Just cilantro is when you pick it for its leaves, and coriander is after it flowers and you could collect it for its seeds. Now, when it comes to starting cilantro seeds, because cilantro has an outer hull or shell on the outside, it could be hard to germinate. But there is a trick to fix that issue. The trick we like using is I'll take some of my seeds and I'll soak them in a glass jar for 6 to 12 hours. So it will shorten the germination time and more of the seeds will germinate. The next crop is peas. And just like beans that we did earlier on in this video, peas needs to be soaked for 6 hours. So you can pop them into a glass of water and let them sit. After 6 hours though, you'd want to drain the water and then you can direct sow them into the spot where you want them to grow. The next crop is cucumbers. But the most important tip to know when planting cucumber is that cucumbers hate the heat. No, they hate the cold. Cucumbers hate the cold, but I used to think that planting my cucumbers earlier would get me an earlier harvest. But what I found is that the air around my cucumber plants would be warm during the daytime, but the soil would still be cold and my plants started suffering. I know it's very tempting to plant your cucumbers early, but unless you want your leaves turning yellow, then you shouldn't plant them. It's best if you wait till the weather is warm before you direct sow them. or wait till it's 2 to 3 weeks past your last frost date to direct soda. Crops number 12 to 15 is your summer squashes, like your zucchini, and your winter squash, pumpkins, and the summer classic, watermelon. Now all of these are part of the same family as your cucumbers, which means that they don't like the cold either. You wouldn't want to direct sow them right away, but you could plant them later on in this month. Tweaker's outside today, so we're gonna give her some greens. Oh, let's see if she'll jump up for it. She got a piece. What do you want? Huh? Make sure you guys pack like in the comments for Tweaker if you like seeing her in our videos. Even though you can't plant your watermelon, squash, pumpkins, or things like your cucumbers, it's important that you do know what to do when it comes time to plant them. So watch this video over here for the 5 common mistakes when growing cucumbers to avoid. So that way you could get a great harvest. Before you go, I just wanted to let you know that you could join our free gardening challenge where everyone gets to send in photos of what they grow. To learn more about it and join, I'll put the link in the description.